as the Minister of Justice, my role is that of a linesman. You know a linesman? A linesman lifts the flag when the ball has crossed the line. I have raised the flag before, and today I want to raise that flag again and say, laws are not suggestions. Compliance with the law is mandatory. It doesn't matter who you are. All of us in public offices swear to defend and protect and uphold the Constitution. That is the same oath that all police officers, all members of the judiciary, all members of the UPDF, that is the oath they take. There is no need to use excessive force against someone who is not resisting arrest. Torture is expressly forbidden by our Constitution and even by a separate law passed by the Parliament. It is forbidden. So, as your linesman, my flag is up on the question of torture, on the question of excessive force in arrest, in the face of illegal detentions and unlawful arrest. But the one who responds to the linesman's flag is the referee. You know, the linesman doesn't have a whistle. Have you ever seen a linesman with a whistle? Now you people want to give me a whistle. What sort of game will we have? That means there will be 3 whistles. Because you have one linesman on the other side, you have another linesman on the other side, and then the whistle by the referee. This country has a president, this country has a commander-in-chief. Like any referee, it is his duty to scan the field and see when a flag is up to respond to that flag. Because we work together. It is as simple as that. And it doesn't require me to insult anybody's mother to get that point across. So I call upon all of us who are trying to build a better country to realize that ultimately we all need the law, by the way. Even those who abuse the law. We need the law. I believe some of you are students of literature. You may have read a book called A Man for All Seasons. In that book, there is a chancellor of England called Thomas More. Sir Thomas More was having an argument with a man who really loved to wield power. He was called Mr. Roper. So Mr. Roper says, if I'm chasing the devil, I'll cut through every law in England while pursuing the devil. Because my objective is greater than any law. Then Sir Thomas More asked Mr. Roper, and if the devil turned on you, would you not need the law now to defend you against the devil? So we all need the law at one point or another. Even those who abuse the law. So let us not crack our heads over things which don't concern us. In this country, fortunately, we have elections every 5 years. That is actually the ultimate point of accountability. But if citizens go to vote because of 5,000 shilling, 10,000 shilling, then what do we do? What do I do as Minister of Justice? If a local mayor can corrupt you, if an MP can corrupt you, then you say, I'm not well represented. Now, who do you blame? The restoration of the vote is the most important revolution that we can talk about, to give force to the vote. So, I don't need to talk about corruption because I know most of you are mainly concerned about the dramatics. But it has a history. I am the one who led the fight to transfer the file of Dr. Besigye from the court-martial to the civilian court. You remember I was even chased away from Parliament. I went to Parliament and the Speaker said, don't come back unless you have a report that Colonel Besigye is appearing in the civilian court. But I actually have no power. I can't call a judge and direct a judge. Some of you think I can call a judge and say, please give bail to that one. Don't give bail. We will have messed up the system. The next time when Honorable Sarah Dong is in trouble, she'll say, oh, why don't you call the judge? We don't want to be like Mr. Trump, who calls FIFA and says, suspend the suspension. I think first we must understand the system. Now, let's get a few things straight. Who are the people that are in the news? First, we have the Honorable Mwangachi. I was out of the country. I don't know what really happened. Maybe somebody will tell me. He got bail, and I heard him announcing that he was arrested. Then the next thing I heard, he was really breathing fire. Now, for those of us who like being in the struggle, we struggle for impact. See, when you're an army, you don't do too many parades because a parade does not kill the enemy. Okay, parade looks nice, you can display your marching skills and so on. But at the end of the day, you must also know that when the contact begins, it may not end well with you. I do not know what his current state is, but the right to apply to bail for bail is a right open to all Ugandans. So with that history that I've given you, and the debate which took place in Parliament, and the decision of the court, which everybody celebrated, that civilians should not be tried in the court-martial. We are still struggling to transfer all the cases because the DPP's investigation team has to look at all those files afresh to prepare them. And that process is going on. I want people to know that the government is committed to complying with the decision of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the Supreme Court. And the government also made those changes. That is why, for the first time, members of the court-martial were subjected to interviews by the Judicial Service Commission. It had never happened before. Lastly is the question of a fair trial. What is a fair trial? A fair trial must be speedy. That time when we were in Parliament, you remember I had a heated exchange with one of the people on the opposite bench who said, why is the government not transferring the file? And I said, by the way, as a government, we lost the case. You know that government lost the case. We lost. So when you lose the case, it is the winner to go and extract the order from court so that it is executed. But if you have lawyers who spend more time politicking than fighting for you, you can have problems. But also, when you have decided that a case is political, then you should take the Mandela route and be totally unapologetic. Actually, that is the right route. Because Mandela stood and said, you have left me with no option but to plant bombs, to bring down the apartheid system, and I'm not here to apologize. He even said, you judges, you are the ones who should be here to be on trial. So what is going on in Uganda? I do believe that all those suspects who are before court are entitled to a speedy trial. And according to the law, they are now entitled to mandatory bail, unless there are other reasons for them to be kept. But those are not decisions of the minister. Because bail should actually be the smallest thing. I saw how people were celebrating the bail for Honorable Miriam Adembe, the bail for Timothy Kalyegira. That is now, I call it the low expectation syndrome in Uganda. The expectations of Ugandans have become so low that now you are supposed to be grateful when bad things are not done. You should be grateful when good things are done. If I'm carrying a stick, then you can come and say, thank you for not beating me, sir. But the stick is not for beating just anybody. I call upon Ugandans, let's continue insisting on the rule of law and constitutionalism. But we must also understand who is supposed to do what. I believe we shall have a detailed discussion in the High Court Summit. Now, as the chair of the Cabinet Standing Committee on Human Rights, we still expect to get a full briefing by the security chiefs, which include the CDF, the Inspector General of Police, the Commissioner General of Prisons, the Director General of External Security Organization, and the Director General of Internal Security Organization. We believe the information they will share with us as the Cabinet's Standing Committee on Human Rights will help us understand what is going on better. I don't like talking about things that I don't understand fully. So, for the record, the members of the Cabinet Standing Committee on Human Rights include myself as the chair, the Minister of Internal Affairs as the deputy chair, and the members are Minister of Defense, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Local Government, Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, the Attorney General, the Government Chief Whip, and ex-officio Secretary General of the NIA. Now I want to picture all those people in one room being briefed, because we must act as the whole of government. Now I understand the reason why people make the comments they make on social media. I want to assure you that we should let the system that is established work. In the same way that we were able to understand the 2020 unrests and the tragic happenings, I believe even this one we will get to know more. I'm not the judge, but I think all parties, the accused persons and the prosecution, should agree to move with the case forward. In any case, all decisions are even appealable. I believe that when I get more information, I'll be back to explain to you what really is happening in these cases. I also listened to the speech of the president when he addressed the nation, and he basically said the same thing I've said now. That the CDF's radical response to radicalism in the opposition. And the answer to that is for us not to be watching the game of the radicals. The answer is for us to focus on the real game that takes Uganda forward. And DP is in the best position to lead that.